Now let me break down for a bit of an introduction here, sort of the Buddhist versus the Catholic take on mindfulness. I heard from, I recently met with Peter Kreeft, who wrote the foreword to a book I have coming out. It's called The Mindful Catholic. It's going to be released next week. So if you want to look that up, you can pre-order on Amazon right now. It's called The Mindful Catholic. And Peter Kreeft wrote the foreword, and so I got to sit with him a bit and talk about some of these ideas. And he told me the story about Father Norris Clark, who is an old Jesuit, one of his professors from Fordham University, who was on the forefront of interreligious dialogue and understanding sort of the relationship between meditation and some of these things with some of the Buddhist expressions of that worldview. And after sitting and meeting and being with these particular Buddhists I think he was there for a week, at the end they were discussing their similarities, and Father Norris Clark and this Buddhist were chatting about the similarities, and the Zen master said to him, there's more similar between us than different. And Father Norris Clark said, I bet I agree, but why? And so he said, well, let me take these three brothers, and I want the four of you to go to separate corners of the room and all write down the essence of your faith in one word. And they all wrote down the essence of their faith in one word. They came back together. It was the same word: gratitude. Gratitude is the essence of our response to God. Now, Father Norris Clark was really happy to see this connection. And he said, well, there is so much similar between us. I just have one question for you. Who are you grateful to? And the Zen master looked at him perplexed, and he said, well, we're good at psychology. I didn't say we were good at metaphysics. They have this profound psychology. And it's this expression of their humanity and discovering who they are, self-awareness, and years and years and years of spending serious time and taking serious the things of the way the mind works, that they've discovered many important things about the way the mind works. However, they don't have a worldview that can ground it in any substantial way beyond the human experience. So this is going to be sort of the fundamental difference that makes these two practices radically different. Catholic mindfulness from Buddhist mindfulness. But the starting point is very similar, and it's really important for us to learn what we can from the Buddhist expression. So mindfulness as awareness of the present moment without judgment is part of the Buddhist path to enlightenment. The way the Buddhists answer the questions about worldview and metaphysics is that they ultimately decide that our immediate awareness of life, of experience, is an illusion. That there is reality beyond what we think and see. And really, the idea of dualism, of separation between beings, is an illusion. The only reality that really matters, that we all need to arrive at through enlightenment, is unity amongst all being. Okay, now as a side note, it's really interesting. We also believe that there's unity to all being. And this actually gets into the mystery of the Trinity. So we know that God is three and one, and all of being is created out of his identity. So there is a oneness to all reality. So we really can't fault a whole worldview that doesn't have the benefit of divine revelation through the person of Christ at arriving at least half of the mystery. There really is a unity amongst all being. However, where they sort of err is to say that that's all there is. And so any idea of multiplicity in life is really an illusion. So enlightenment is arriving at that experience, the discovery that all is really illusion. And there are 8 steps on the path to enlightenment, the eightfold way. And mindfulness is one of those steps. So learning how to become non-judgmentally aware of the present moment is a necessary step for Buddhists on the way to enlightenment. Now, interestingly enough, one of the first steps is right speech and right thought and right action. So really, it's beautiful. If you read the steps to enlightenment, they're incredibly consistent and congruent with a Catholic philosophy of virtue and moral virtue. So it's interesting if you read a Buddhist, description of right thought or right speech. It's like reading out of the Catechism. Don't speak ill of others, no detraction, no lying, only say things to bless each other. Ephesians 4:29 is almost like verbatim, word for word, the right speech teaching of a Buddhist step to enlightenment. It's fascinating. And it's really about charity, living in charity, and striking vice from life. So, some of the criticism that I've heard about some of the interaction between the Buddhist and the Catholic ideas for mindfulness is that, well, because it's Buddhist, it can't be Catholic. Well, then we better throw out the Catechism, Thomas Aquinas, and every other teaching we have about right speech because it's actually Buddhist. Well, we can go beyond that. We can say, on the surface, there is a resonance in the human experience. If it's good, it's human. And if it's human, we can arrive at an experience of it, limited as it is, that's still true. So that's how we're going to sort of interpret the Buddhist way of understanding mindfulness on the path. And then we're going to say at the end, clearly we take totally different paths at the fork. And so where the Buddhists go towards the illusion, we go towards the fullness of reality and the separation of being as well. So there is really a God who's different from us. And there's actually very different people that we all are. And in fact, that's the only way that love exists. For a Buddhist, love doesn't exist. And that might be a surprise. We don't usually kind of focus on that aspect. But love requires persons. Well, a Buddhist worldview, there are no persons. So this is where we go a very different direction. But the difference here is that the reason for arriving where we arrive is based on the reality of who God is. But the practice can be very similar because we're focusing back on the human level. Now we're focusing back on the what. What's actually happening in your brain? So you're running late. You woke up this morning, there's more traffic than you anticipated, you left something at home, and you're in the car, and you're in traffic, and you're worried about showing up to the workshop late. All the stuff that's going on in your head. Well, what do we do with that? Doesn't matter if you're a Buddhist or a Catholic or an atheist or anybody else. Everybody has that experience. It's a human experience. And we can all understand practically what to do with our thinking in a way to bring us to a place of deeper peace. And that's going to involve our physiology as well as our spirituality. Ultimately, there's only two reasons why mindfulness works. There's the Buddhist reason and there's the Catholic reason. The Buddhist reason is that mindfulness, which teaches us how to be in a brain state of safety, makes sense because danger is an illusion. We're never really in danger. We don't really die. Those things are illusions. The other option would be that we're really safe because we have a Father who loves us. Because Jesus promised us that we will be safe. Because he told us, do not worry about the things of your life. Look at the way the Father takes care of even the flowers and the birds who do nothing for what they receive. God will take care of you. Do not be afraid. So there's two reasons why mindfulness can work. The Buddhist reason is that everything's an illusion. The Catholic reason is that we have a Father who loves us. And you see how very different they are. But the rest of the day we're going to talk about what mindfulness is, and that's going to teach us how similar the practice really is, and how much we have to learn from their practice.